Hey, what's up, everybody? I want to talk about judgment. It's time for judgment. It is time for judgment. I'm telling you, man. Look, judgment is always hey, man. I'm telling you. Look, man. Man, is the God creator, Allah, Jehovah Yeshua, Emmanuel. And God in heaven and earth. I'm telling you, judgment. That name Emmanuel was the word that came out of the mouth of the prophet Isaiah. It was the name that prophet Isaiah said Christ was called, and Christ was called, and that name Emmanuel was the same name that Matthew confirmed to and said it was fulfilled, and it fulfilled the words of God by the prophet, saying, "Behold, the virgin shall bear a son, and call his name." A virgin shall bear a son, and she shall call his name Emmanuel, interpreted God with us. And if Isaiah didn't say the same thing, where he said, Isaiah said, the sign to the king will be the virgin will bear a son and call his name Emmanuel. So I know I'm standing on the true word of God, and I know that Jesus is false. I'm telling you, but this little faith of mine, bro, I'm trying to say, all my faith, bro, I'm trying to tell you, all my faith in it. I'm trying to say, if I die, but and I know I want to heaven, and I know it's in God, I know I'm free. No, I'm free. I know this is praise I have. I want to fucking free. Okay? I know. Okay? But I'm telling you, God is real, bro. And God creator. Who said his word, his name, and his name of his name word, it's her prophet name, when we call it his Savior, and his gospel we teach. Father, Lord God, on the night 2022, who believes again, all we win judgment, you will be judged. See, right now, you already been judged. You feel me? You said I won't conquer. You said I won't conquer, but I've conquered the stream, and I've got the best music out there. Yeah, yeah. And now you gotta be there. And your music getting boring, out of style. I've lost music and took music from you. I've taken music from you, from you. I've taken music from you, from you. Oh, fuck Illuminati. You understand? It's fuck Illuminati. Just devil, man. You can't fuck. The devil cannot fuck. Yeah. The devil cannot fuck. The devil is gonna be mad. Cause he is my slave also. I'll tell you, bro. This is gonna be a fire, man. Man, this will be a crazy event, bro. What, bro? What? This shit gonna be a crazy event. This shit gonna be a very crazy event, bro. You feel me? This shit gonna be a very crazy event. They'll be so scared. I'm just so from there like, phew. They don't see me, bro. They don't see me. They don't see me, but they touch me. see me and everything. I was just I was feeling you want throw on the keys. Like, you're not saying you're and it's from, you're not saying. Uh-oh, my ceiling's working. Another prophecy come to pass. Oh, no friends getting ready. No friends getting ready to go to war. No friends getting ready to go to war.
Since October, but O'Brien says there are channels of communication open. Let's hope they're using some of them tonight. The speech coming up in the next hour or so is going to be crucial.
All right, Brian, we know you will be watching. Thank you for that report. Coming up, new details of new U.S. deployments to the Middle East as the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad comes under attack.
You see all this? Listen, man. Listen, hold on. Let me show you something. Listen, let me show you. Look, bro. You heard this shit, bro? I'm trying to say, bro. Next year, bro. Next year, bro. It's gonna be a war, bro. After next year.
The Xfinity Stream app, which is free with your service.
I'm trying to tell you, after next year, bro, it's gonna be a war, bro.
We could find out within hours when Kim makes his customary New Year's Day speech, often an occasion for him to make a grand entrance and a major announcement. How would America respond to a provocation like a long-range missile test by North Korea? President Trump's national security advisor didn't give details, only saying the U.S. is prepared to take action.
We have a lot of tools in our toolkit, and additional pressure can be brought to bear on the North Koreans.
Kim has seemingly been building to this moment for months with a steady stream of provocations. His diplomats cutting short a working-level meeting with U.S. officials in October. The regime launching a series of short-range projectiles, 2 apparent rocket engine tests. Kim recently made a show of riding a white stallion on North Korea's storied Mount Paektu, often a signal of a big decision looming. And Trump and the North Koreans have exchanged insults recently, as they did in 2017. Trump again calling Kim Rocket Man. Kim's side calling Trump a dotard. Why so much agitation?
Kim Jong-un, he is frustrated because what he has been demanding is he wants the sanctions lifted. There are various indications that show they are suffering under the sanctions, especially the elites.
Tonight, analysts are worried about the dangers ahead when Trump and Kim may try to salvage a nuclear deal and their personal relationship.
I do worry about miscalculation from Kim Jong-un that could lead to escalation. And I worry also about just a bad deal from the United States perspective, that we essentially buy into a very weak denuclearization process and give Kim more than he deserves.
In the meantime, if North Korea does test a long-range missile or engages in another provocation in the coming days, a U.S. official has told CNN the Trump administration has a series of military show-of-force options it's approved, including flights of bomber aircraft over the Korean Peninsula or military drills of ground weapons. Brianna, let's hope it doesn't come to that, but it might.
And amidst all of these ominous warnings, has there been any communication, actual communication between the U.S. and North Korea recently?
Brianna, Trump's national security advisor, Robert O'Brien, was asked about that in recent days. Officially, the two sides have really not talked face-to-face since October, but O'Brien says there are channels of communication open. Let's hope they're using some of them tonight. This speech coming up in the next hour or so is going to be crucial.
All right, Brian, we know you will be watching. Thank you for that report. Coming up, new details of new U.S. deployments to the Middle East as the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad comes under attack.
You can join the battle to save lives by supporting St. Jude Children's Research Hospital.
It takes a heart for somebody to say, I'm willing to give to St. Jude so that they can help save more lives.
Families never receive a bill from St. Jude for treatment, travel, housing, or food.
Right.
Because all a family should worry about is helping their child live.
It's not fair that a 2.5-year-old has to worry about, am I going to make it?
Cancer doesn't care how old you are. It attacks when you least expect it. And it's devastatingly scary.
1 in 5 children diagnosed with cancer in the U.S. will not survive.
The doctor came to me and he said, "Mom, you don't have to be afraid anymore. I'm going to take care of your baby."
St. Jude won't stop until no child dies of cancer. Please call or go online right now and become a St. Jude Partner in Hope for only $19 a month. When you call or go online at joinstjude.org with your credit or debit card right now, we'll send you this St. Jude t-shirt you can wear to show your support for the children of St. Jude.
We were very afraid when we came here.
Hey, bro. Hey, bro,
Just
I'm
call or
telling you,
go
bro.
online at joinstjude.org.
The world finna end, bro. Like I'm trying to tell you, time is, you know, it is
When you
over.
shop with Wayfair,
Time
you
is
spend
over.
less
You know
and
that
get
God
way
gave
more. So you
the
can bring
word
your
a
vision
certain
to
time.
life and save in more ways
And
than
he
one.
said he would put the world to end a certain time, and he would come. He would come and judge the world. You feel me? And who does he serve? God don't send nobody else but his son. You feel me? And the lamb. I'm trying to tell y'all niggas, bro. Listen, bro. Listen, bro. I am trying to tell y'all niggas, Judgment Day is on the way.
Happening now,
Yeah, true. Bro, you
Iran
already
will
been
pay a very
judged.
big
Like,
price
Judgment Day
after
really
protesters
started.
attacked
Like,
the
Judgment
US
Day
embassy
started, bro.
in Iran.
I bet y'all
We're
said
learning about growing
Judgment
concerns
Day.
within the White House that tensions could escalate in the hours ahead.
Oh, tension escalated.
Republican senator says both parties are wrong to prejudge the president's impeachment trial. But Susan Collins is signaling she may support a key demand by Democrats in a potential break from her party's leadership. Overrated. President Trump takes aim at Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats as the year of his impeachment comes to a close. He's ringing in 2020 with a new Twitter rant. And Pelosi's power play will show you how the speaker is flexing her muscle as she keeps a tight grip on the articles of impeachment and tries to extend her influence into the Senate. We want to welcome our viewers in the United States and around the world. Wolf Blitzer is off today. I'm Brianna Keeler. This is a Situation Room special report. Right now, tensions with Iran are on the rise and American troops are on the move after protesters attacked the U.S. Embassy in Iran. Supporters of an Iranian-backed militia tried to storm the embassy compound in retaliation for deadly U.S. airstrikes against the militia group. Now, President Trump is vowing to hold Iran fully responsible for any deaths or damage, warning in a new tweet that the country will pay a very big price. Also tonight, as the standoff over the president's impeachment trial drags on, a key Republican senator is suggesting a potential crack in GOP unity. Senator Susan Collins revealing she's open to calling witnesses, but when? I'll talk with Congressman Jerry Connolly, a Democrat on the Oversight and Foreign Relations Committees, and our correspondents and analysts also are standing by. First to CNN White House correspondent Boris Sanchez. He is with the president in Florida. And Boris, Mr. Trump just issued a new threat to Iran over that attack on the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad. Tell us what's in it.
Let begin the wars.
That's right, Brianna.
Stay for the war.
White House officials telling CNN they're very concerned about what's happening at the embassy in Baghdad. Their belief is that these protesters are actually part of an Iranian-backed militia, and they're concerned that hostilities could escalate tomorrow. President Trump today scrambled to develop a response, but part of his focus remains on impeachment as he launched fresh attacks on Democrats. Tonight, President Trump weighing a large response, blaming Iran for the attempted siege of the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad, writing, quote, Iran will be held fully responsible for lives lost or damage incurred at any of our facilities. They will pay a very big price. This is not a warning, it is a threat. The president leaving his golf club after less than an hour this morning to address the erupting situation. Protesters scaling walls, forcing the gates,
and setting fires inside the heavily guarded compound while diplomats were trapped inside. The backlash against American airstrikes that killed dozens of members of the Iraq Background Group in Iran.
Y'all niggas are stupid. I told y'all niggas, man.
According to a State Department spokesperson,
I told you, America. You said it was all good. I told you them niggas don't like it. I told you they were going to strike like, right?
Tweeted that he met with Trump and other officials about the raid today, writing that Trump is determined to protect Americans, adding, quote, no more Benghazis, a reference to the 2012 attack in Libya that killed U.S. Ambassador Chris Stevens and 3 other U.S. nationals. But critics argue Trump's foreign policy has left the U.S. in danger. Senator Chris Murphy scathing on Twitter. The attack on our embassy in Baghdad is horrifying but predictable. Trump has rendered America impotent in the Middle East. No one fears us. No one listens to us. America has been reduced to huddling in safe rooms, hoping the bad guys will go away. What a disgrace. All this as President Trump continues to hammer House Speaker Nancy Pelosi on his impeachment, tweeting, they produced no case, so now she doesn't want to go to the Senate. She's all lies. Most overrated person I know. Trump also claiming that Democrats will do anything to avoid a trial in the Senate in order to protect sleepy Joe Biden. And Brianna, back to the situation with the embassy. President Trump made the Benghazi comparison himself a short time ago on Twitter, writing, quote, the anti-Benghazi. White House officials tell us that they are encouraged by talks that they've been having with Iraqi leaders. They say they hope tomorrow will be better than what they saw today, but they are prepared for anything. Brianna.
Boris, thank you so much for that report. And U.S. troops are being mobilized tonight in response to the situation at the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad. Let's go down to the Pentagon and CNN's Ryan Brown. Tell us what you're learning about troop deployments, Ryan.
Well, Brianna, the U.S. military has already taken several steps to reinforce its posture in the wake of this kind of protest that's really largely being led by this militia group that the U.S. military conducted those airstrikes against. Now, the military has already talked about it sent about 100 additional Marines from our crisis response unit in Kuwait that have arrived at the embassy flying in on MD-22 Ospreys. They landed there. They're bolstering security there. The U.S. military flew 2 Apaches attack helicopters overhead over the embassy where they released flares as a warning sign of potential military retaliation if these protests get out of hand. But we're learning now that the U.S. is also planning to move additional forces from the United States. Members of the 82nd Airborne Division will be sent to the region, not to Iraq itself, but to nearby countries to prepare so that they could respond if this situation escalates further. Now, the U.S. has blamed the militia that's participating in these protests for a series of rocket attacks against U.S. military facilities, one of which led to the death of an American contractor and prompted those airstrikes. So the U.S. is very well aware that this group has the ability to conduct attacks on U.S. facilities. So they very much want to be prepared in case the situation deteriorates further.
All right, Ryan Brown, thank you so much to the Pentagon for us. And now to impeachment. A key Senate Republican is signaling she might break from the GOP leadership on the question of whether to call witnesses at the president's trial. But there could be a caveat here. CNN congressional correspondent Phil Mattingly is joining us. This is a significant remark by Senator.
Let me know hey man, just let me know when the trial start and let me know what the outcome is. That's all I want to know. I want to know about why.
It's why there's an impasse over what this trial actually looked like.
Come on, man. Those purposes come to pass, man. It is a thing. And you pass this Bible recording anytime. Bible prophecies, Book of Daniel, Jeremiah, Isaiah, everything Revelation come to pass right in front of your eyes. Your time is up. You know what I'm saying, bro? If you were a real man of God, you would not be worried. That's why I need to sweat to protect your reputation. Because you're not real man. Real man of God, we don't worry about that shit. Because God said me. See, that's why God said, go, don't spare their face. I'll be with you today. You feel me? It ain't my fault. Family don't go away. You feel me? Our family just And then nobody go with that.
deconstruct that.
Sure, it's all right.
Let's first take the final point she made. And I think it's an important one, which is that she, as she told me before she left for the holidays, has problems with how the House will run this process. Take that, notice that she's been there for a time. Obviously, saying she's open to witnesses is a big piece of this. However, she said she is open to witnesses after the initial trial investigation. Where does that line her up? That lines her up directly behind Senator Mitch McConnell, who has his position been like what they did in 1999, the Senate impeachment trial for President Bill Clinton, is to have both sides present their cases, have senators have an opportunity to ask questions to the defense and to the House managers, and then they can decide whether or not there would be witnesses or subpoenas for documents. Obviously, Chuck Schumer has said he wants this all arranged and set up at the very beginning of the trial, not wait until that point. But at least when you listen to Susan Collins and how she talks about this, she may be willing for witnesses.
Like straight up, bro. Y'all ain't gonna know shit. Like, pastors don't know shit. Like, how did it work? Then when God said, let's see, look at it, the beginning, time, end of time, beginning, and beginning.
Are you getting any sense of these?
Endless, and then not endless. You feel me? The beginning, and he's already telling me. See, my father is telling his being, yeah. You just came into existence.
Is how little has occurred over the course of the last 2 weeks. Chuck Schumer and Mitch McConnell have not spoken.
I don't know.
Speaker has not spoken to the majority leader in the Senate. Nobody has any idea what Speaker Pelosi's plans are in terms of sending these articles of impeachment. Here's the expectation. We know the House comes back into session on January 7th. That's the absolute earliest the House could vote to send the articles. The Senate comes back on the 6th. The expectation, I think, is you will hear from Senator Leader McConnell when they get back into town, probably on Friday when he gets back into town, in terms of what the next steps will be. But we don't know when the articles are sent over. And that's kind of tricky for everything else. In the meantime, my understanding is Senate Republicans are going to see business as usual until those articles come over. So they're not going to be making any special trial preparations. They're not going to be doing anything in a trial. The articles coming over, which have been the theory that some trial preparation, that's not going to happen. No articles are coming over. Mitch McConnell is going to act like, well, it's the Senate. It's a new session. Let's get to work. And then we'll figure it out. So keep an eye on January 7th when the House comes back into town.
It would be nice to have some answers. Then we can stop asking the same questions. Phil Mattingly, thank you so much. And joining me now is Congressman Jerry Connolly. He's a Democrat who serves on the Foreign Affairs and Oversight. Thank you so much for joining us.
See, a lot of these pastors
so the president right now, I want to talk to you about what we're seeing going on in Iraq, where the U.S. Embassy has, at least the compound at Baghdad has been attacked. The president is blaming Iran. If we did this, Iran will be held fully responsible for lives lost and damage incurred at any of our facilities. They will pay a very big price. This is not a warning.
Bullshit sons.
What is your reaction?
Now, they're not bullshit sons, but they bullshit sons.
Well, this is a president who's made many elaborate threats against foreign leaders or other countries in the past and has not followed through. So I fear that his credibility is adversaries.
You read those sermons after you understand and you understand where you're at and what's going on in their book.
Secondly, we
and
have
you
to
don't
hold the Iraq
understand the
government
word.
to account here.
The other one to understand it because it teaches you how the word began and everything, how God was used the prophet. They kept the record of how God used them and what prophet said. Prophet of God. And the words you teach, it's called the word of God. Why is it called the word of God? What is the word of God? Who is the word of God? Is the guy that she I did
with Iran. And Iran now has very little to lose in the relationship. That puts it in a very dangerous
And why does it come to pass?
Are Americans at the embassy
A lot of
compound
Christians
in
say
Iraq safe?
the word of God, the word of God. The word of God. I told them niggas Emmanuel is the word of God. They so we know Jesus not told them no Emmanuel. It's the word of God. And I told them, show me Jesus in the Bible where it said in the Old Testament that a virgin shall bear a son and call his name Jesus. And when it says in the New Testament that all this was done to fulfill what the prophet
That obviously
said,
is a very
that a
dangerous
virgin
situation.
bred a son and called his
Reminiscent
name
of
Jesus.
1979.
Well, that's exactly the image,
See,
the
you
moment
can't
that
do
these
that.
images
But you can,
conjure up is
but look,
1979.
but
And
you
I
people, you
wonder,
cannot think past
what
the
is
fact
supposed to be the ability to entrust
of your
security
natural
issues to
reaction
the
to
Iraqis and
your
the U.S. to
belief
a degree,
that
still relying on this and telling the
you've been
Iraqis, look,
taught years ago
this
that
needs to be
Jesus
something that
was
you're
saved.
paying attention to. Do
So,
you think that the ability to
so,
have an effective
so when
U.S.
you
military
had that,
footprint, a U.S. diplomatic footprint in Iraq
you get
is still
defensive and
an
you call
ability,
defense
or that
as
ability is
somebody lies.
deteriorating? What do you think?
And when somebody tell you Jesus, when I tell you Jesus,
I
when I
think the
say
domestic security
Emmanuel is
situation is
Savior,
very volatile
and you
in
be like,
Iraq right now. It has a very substantial Shia population. It's really roused up by the United States decision to undertake retaliatory strikes after the death of an American contractor at the hands of Iranian-supported militias or insurgents.
so when I tell you
But it
Jesus
is
is
the
Savior,
obligation of the Iraq government, and it's my
see when they
understanding,
tell, no, when I
that
tell you Emmanuel is
Iraq
Savior,
Prime Minister
not
gave
just
assurances
when I tell you
to
Emmanuel is Savior,
that
you
in
get
fact they
defensive.
would fulfill those
But
obligations.
when I tell you
Well,
God
they
is
need to
with
do
you,
that.
you
I want to turn
embrace
to
it.
impeachment now with you.
So you be
You've heard
like,
from Republican Senator
I'll
Susan
be like,
Collins, who says
Emmanuel
she'll go for
Savior,
the
not
witnesses
Jesus.
at
Be
the
like,
Senate
oh
trial.
no,
She
no,
does
no.
say,
I'll
though,
be
it's
like, God
premature
is
to
with
choose
you.
witnesses
You
before
be like,
evidence is presented,
yes,
which
yes,
puts her
yes,
in
yes,
line
yes.
with the
Be
Senate
like,
Majority Leader Mitch
that
McConnell.
is Emmanuel.
What do you think about this? Do you think there's any hope in reading that perhaps she
That what
can
that name
join
Emmanuel means.
Democrats or provide some
That
pressure
what
for there to be
Emmanuel
witnesses,
is,
or do you
God
just think
with
she's
you.
in line with McConnell?
When you said, you call him the name of God, and you
I think Susan Collins is
that
struggling
right,
with her own independence.
all these process
It's got to
always
be
tell
tied
you,
in her
now
position
all these process always tell you,
with the
remind
overwhelming
God of
majority
his
of
promise.
Republican members apparently
You
haven't
feel
made
me?
up their minds or
Like, straight up,
not seeking
like,
any
bro,
fair
don't they
political
always tell you to
process.
remind God of the promises?
And
Now,
so
show
I
me
admire
Jesus
what
as
she
a
said
promise
today,
of God.
to strike out a little bit
But
and
God
put a
with
mark
you
in
is
that
a promise.
possibility of witnesses. Her disclaimer about her disappointment in Democrats not
Show me
pursuing
Jesus as a
subpoenas
promise of
is
God.
a little disingenuous from my point of view, because she
God with you
knows
is a
that
promise.
to do that would have been years of litigation in the court system. And that's why the Democrats didn't pursue it. And the idea that we rushed to judgment is false. The impeachment process was the culmination of a over 2-year effort by Robert Mueller, and of course,
And I said, you tell me which one.
compellingly documented.
You can say I'm lying. You can
In
say
terms of
I'm
what the
this.
president did.
I said, don't
But
shoot
She's
the
making the
messenger.
point that if that's
That
the
was
case,
abuse of office.
Don't
she's
shoot the
making the
messenger.
point that if
I'm
that's the
just a
case,
man.
then
I'm just saying
why
the
weren't the
message.
articles of impeachment
Yeah.
sent over? And
God
to that
said,
point, what
God
I'm trying to
said,
get answers
okay,
to my
son.
question: when will
I'm
they
getting
be
one
sent
more
over?
one.
Will they go over?
You remember when, like,
Yeah.
remember when, what's his
You know,
name is?
we're on
What's his
recess,
name
as
is?
is the Senate, and I'm not quite sure the obsession
That was
about
just in the
when
rich
will they be
man.
sent over. But I will say this:
Sure.
I think it's also disingenuous.
Remember about Elijah? Tell me the
You
story
went
about
into
Elijah
rush,
and the rich
you might
man?
not explain
The
its
leopard.
rush. And secondly,
Elijah
why
was a
aren't the
leopard.
articles of impeachment here? Well, that kind of pretends
A sick
that Mitch
leopard.
McConnell and Lindsey Graham and other Republicans, your
They
colleagues in the
stayed.
United States Senate, Senator Collins, haven't made outrageous statements about their lack of impartiality
They
in advance
stayed.
of taking an oath
But
to
they
be
was laying
precisely
and
that,
begging for money
impartial.
to get to
And
the
I
rich
think the
man.
Democrats and certainly Speaker Pelosi have
When the rich
reason to
man had
pause
food and bones
as to, well,
and
what
meat
what body are we handing over these
asked
articles?
the rich man.
Is this a sham trial with a rigged jury? Or is it indeed going to uphold its second oath, the only time senators take a second oath, to be impartial jurors in the impeachment trial process? And I think we're entitled to know the answer to that before we send over the article of impeachment. And I think the Speaker is right to pause to give everybody the opportunity to examine that question.
It seems like this has been a practice in trying to hold the articles of impeachment to raise questions about, or I should say, raise the issue of impartiality and hope that it really is something that is absorbed a little more by Americans, that the Democrats' message is absorbed a little more by Americans, and maybe there's some pressure that can be put on Mitch McConnell and Republicans. But do you really see that happening? I mean, right now you've heard what Lisa Murkowski said, but she had criticism for you guys as well, and the same really was Susan Collins.
Yeah,
Just dip
I
your
kind of take
finger
some
in
of
the
that
cup
criticism as a bit of a disclaimer to give
and just drop
themselves
me a
some
drip so I finish my plate.
because their position is an awfully lonely position in the Republican caucus in the United States Senate. And so I admire their forthrightness and their willingness to stake out a semi-independent position. I hope they'll follow through on it.
All right, we'll watch as well.
Put dip
Congressman
your
Jerry Connolly,
finger
thank you so much for joining us and a happy New Year.
My pleasure
dip
and Happy
down
New Year.
inside the
All right, just ahead, will the
Thousand
protests
dollar
at the
can't
U.S.
do it.
Embassy in Iraq explode in the
Which
coming
man
hours?
was
We
like,
will break
wow,
down the White
I
House's
can't do it.
concerns and
That
President
everyone
Trump's
came and
threats.
told, oh, what's his name? Told him his man. You can't do it. It's a war between you. You feel me? But there's a war between you. You feel me? If you can't come in here, I can't go over on that guy loud.
Who's the dummy now?
On his eye loud.
Get off it. We're good drivers, 40% for avoiding mayhem, like me.
He's a baby.
Meeting people is my life. I was embarrassed to show my teeth. It was time to do something that was going to be permanent. The Clear Choice one-day approach is making
I'm
dental
telling you,
implants
bro,
a reality
it's
for
judgment,
people
bro.
all over the country who suffer
People
from
that
these
don't
single-family teeth.
understand me.
We have
It's
expertise
judgment.
that you might
You're
not find
in
anywhere else,
judgment
all
right
in
now.
one location. The next day, I had a new smile. Couldn't wait to show some folks. Schedule your free consultation today. We'll even talk about financing options. I had the best smile I've ever had in my life. Call Clear Choice today.
Oh, I gotta say, I need a break. And I've been thinking about the weekend. I've been dreaming about it all day. I get it or I get it now. Everybody say, oh my.
Hey, bad enough.
Today, your information is more exposed than ever. When you shop, bank, or browse online, you're vulnerable to cyber criminals. More threats demand more protection. That's why Norton and LifeLock are now one, combining
You
device
bad,
security, VPN for online privacy,
bro.
and LifeLock identity theft protection.
I'm
Backed by a
trying to
$1
say,
million protection package. Get
it's
all your
judgment.
protection on Norton.com.
It's
I used to have
judgment,
more
man.
hair. I used to have more color.
I'm trying to say
And
it's
I
judgment.
used to have cancer. I beat it.
I did not
I did.
believe it.
Not alone.
See, God always sends a
I just had no
blessing
idea
before he
the American
does something.
Cancer Society did.
So
Research,
he
yeah.
sent me to one of the
Also,
world
for
and
nice
let the world know there's judgment.
hospitals. I used to maybe give a little, then I got so much back.
That's what I'm telling you,
I
judgment.
used to have cancer.
Yeah, 2 years, 7 months,
Please give
8
cancer.org.
The difficult
After
part for
that,
me
the
was
sky
starting. I
rolled.
lost about 20 pounds, which blows my mind.
Just
Psychology aspect,
and you guys get ready to begin.
Noom helped me make a couple of lifestyle changes that made achieving that goal very easy. It's a whole mentality change. Now I love to
I'm telling you, bro.
22
I'm telling you, my nigga, for real.
Just to know that you feel yourself again, it makes me so happy and proud. Visit Noom.com.
I'm not mad.
For good. What I love about Jenny is they have
I'm not mad when people do this. I don't care if people tell me fuck me or whatever. You feel me? I know why you folks want to go out of mad. I know why y'all mad because y'all about to get jailed. And but no, I'm not going to teach no other lesson. Now, please don't get me wrong. I know the other time I said that other lessons don't fucking or whatever. They don't gotta say some shit. I'm just saying like they don't matter right now. The other thing that matters right now but is to read, man, is pray to God and get that Holy Spirit, bro. You feel me? And then see God start teaching you about, you feel me? Like, for real. And the Spirit of God starts teaching, I start
We're
teaching
following
you
a
some
very
real
tense
shit.
situation at the
For
American
real.
Embassy in Baghdad after it was attacked by protesters enraged by recent U.S. airstrikes. President Trump is vowing to hold Iran fully responsible, and he says that is a threat, not a warning. We're told there's concern inside the White House that the protests could escalate in the coming hours. Let's bring in our analysts and our experts to talk about this. And Phil, it's interesting considering there is concern in the White
You
House.
see how you
could
enter
escalate,
the
that the
year
president sent this
with
tweet.
beef?
Iran will be held fully responsible for lives lost or damage incurred if any country They will pay a
Right, what they
price.
doing on New Year's?
This is not a warning, it is a threat.
That would be the New Year resolution. Man,
Boy,
that
I
would
would
be
take
a,
that with a big
right, that
grain of
would be
salt.
our
The
New Year
president
resolution.
spent 3.5 years trying to get us out of Syria. You know, there was that debate about him announcing we were leaving prematurely. Little known story, there's a lot of reporting about getting near closure on a deal with the Taliban in Afghanistan, again, bringing American troops home. My point here is I don't think that Americans sitting around in the situation where at the White House and the President of the United States want to react every time Iran does something, because Iran has a massive presence around the Middle East, where obviously we have a presence as well. And I don't think we want to get into a tit-for-tat shooting game when we don't know what the end ramp is, or what the end game is. So I think the president wants to send out threats because it sounds good, but I don't think we're going to attack the Iranians every time they do something, Brianna.
Well, that's what's really interesting, Abby Phillip, and you've covered President Trump a lot. He's talking a big game, but his actions tell you he doesn't really want to do what he's talking about. So what's the effect of basically crying wolf?
There are two things here. One is this constant waving around of a big stick and not really doing anything about it. It really makes people wonder if the threats really mean anything around the world anymore, not just in Iran, but in North Korea, in Syria. I mean, this is a pattern in all over the world, in Venezuela, where the president talks a big game and doesn't carry it out. But I also think what we're seeing here with the president's tweets is his fixation on President Obama. He called this in one of his tweets the anti-Benghazi. There is a sense here that the president wants to talk a big game, in part because he wants to make a political point that this is not the same as the Benghazi attack, which Republicans, of course, really pilloried the Obama administration for many years. And so some of this, it seems, has to do with the president making a show of it for his base, that he's doing something, that he's responding, that he's engaged. And a lot of that has to do with his fixation on being better than Obama in all areas of his presidency.
They need to avoid this being a Benghazi, but let's be honest, this would be more of a U.S. Embassy in Tehran situation if this escalates a lot, Susan. What are the chances of that happening? Are you pretty confident that things are under control?
Well, right now there's a lot of people who are trying to make claims about whether or not we should be playing hardball with Iran or Iraq as for the larger strategic matter. The important thing right now in the immediate sense is to ensure the physical safety of American troops on the ground, U.S. Embassy diplomatic personnel, embassy staff, people who are safe and sheltered in safe rooms right now, but actually are in immediate danger. And all of the longer term sort of strategic questions just have to come second. That fundamental question of either resecuring the facility or safely evacuating individuals. And so this is a really delicate situation. It's a situation which certainly we would not want to see any kind of escalation. President Trump is directing his ire and his tweets at the Iranians. Ultimately, it's the Iraqi government's responsibility as for the matter of international law to ensure the safety and security of U.S. diplomats on their soil. And so one thing we would expect, as we see sort of individuals trying to de-escalate the situation and prevent the escalation, is to really see strong partnership, hopefully strong partnership between the United States and the Iraqi government, who does have obligations to us, just as we have obligations to foreign diplomats operating in the United States.
Jim Baker, you supervised the Justice Department's Rule of Law Development Program. So as you're looking at this situation, I wonder what you think, because the understanding from Arwen Naiman's reporting is that Iraqi security forces let these militia members from these Shia Iran-backed militias basically just walk past checkpoints or easily get past checkpoints to get to the point where they can puncture this outer wall.
Yeah, given my role that I had back in those days, my first and foremost concern was the safety of our folks at the embassy and elsewhere in Iraq. And so, to me, what this talks about is the poor nature of our relationship with our Iraqi allies as Susan. I mean, they could have stopped this from happening for whatever internal reasons, or dealing with Iran or whatever, or trying to send a message to the United States. They let this happen. They have this obligation. They have the capacity to keep these people away from the embassy, and they need to do that. And so, in terms of de-escalating, I think the first thing that needs to be done by the U.S. is to figure out what's wrong with that relationship and get the Iraqis to do what we need to do to bring the situation under control and not expose our folks to this type of violence. It's crazy.
Everybody stand by for me, if you will. We have a whole lot more ahead to discuss. Is Republican Susan Collins throwing a lifeline to Democrats or not as they pursue their impeachment trial? and demand witnesses. And on this New Year's Eve, we're following celebrations around the world. Just look at these pictures from Paris. Beautiful pictures where they just rang in 2020 moments ago with a light show and fireworks at the iconic Arc de Triomphe.
Hey man, you see, right? This was happening on New Year. Told you, bro. It is about to be. There will be no peace, bro. Yeah, all the way to November the 7th, bro. 2020, bro. November the 7th, 2020, bro. Yeah, all the way to November the 7th, 2020, bro.
Sorry.
Quite the circus, but we covered it. As farmers, we know a thing or two because we've seen a thing or two. We are farmers.
What if there was something that can reduce body fat, boost mood, get rid of wrinkles, tighten saggy skin, and make you look and feel decades, not years, but decades.
Heaven is on earth, man. I'm trying to tell you. I serve a great king. He's the greatest king of all.
Has been shown to boost your HGH naturally, up to an astonishing 682%.
And God is with me, my God is with me, in the name of Emmanuel.
And smarter retailers nationwide.
I'm trying to tell you. Hey.
For a limited time, it's all included on 2020 holiday savings.
Yeah.
This bookcase just arrived, and I need it assembled. Let me show you how easy it is to find help using Tackle. Open the Tackle app, go to Assembly, assemble one bookcase, enter your address and when you want it done. Take a picture and tap Find Me Providers. In a matter of moments, you'll begin receiving text messages as Tackle providers make themselves available. You'll see a picture, bio, and star rating of each provider. Pick the one you want and get it done. The Tackle, it's that easy.
Yeah, man, that's what I tell you, man. What Judgment Day is being Judgment Day right now. For real. Judgment Day started with the 7th week. And now this Revelation, we going into Revelation. I'm trying to tell you. You see all these wars and stuff? There's going to be a war. I'm telling you, there's going to be a war, bro. I'm trying to tell you, we're going to an age of wars, bro. The word of God coming to pass, it's going to be a war all around. Trying to tell you, especially 2001, right now, in peace, take peace, argument. You're feeling no peace. Everybody be arguing for peaceful answer. But they're gonna be like, we're coming good. Listen, man. But that's what they said when they try to build the Tower of Babylon. They said everybody come together and build a tower of God. And God made us speak different languages and they don't understand each other. You think God can't make them understand each other? And not get each other and harden each other out? Like, they're hard to feel like. Stupid people. Hey, stop playing. But listen, bro. I don't care because time is up. Time on earth is up, so I don't care. Whatever you want to do to me, do it. 2 years, somewhere. And 8 days. After that, I would just feel from wherever I'm at. I'm going to start changing. And you wake up to be gone, and you wake up to never hold up. You're not everybody. No matter what magic you do, no matter what you do. I'm telling you. Jesus Christ, when I get my girl, because I'm the Lord. You might change the word of God. You can't stop the word of God. If, you know what I'm saying? You might can change the word of God. That doesn't mean that you stop the word of God.
We're back now with our analysts on the brink of the new year as anticipation is building
You try
for
to
the Senate
make the
impeachment trial.
Antichrist
So let's break down where we are. And the big thing is Senator Susan Collins. She is really the second Republican who's come out and has she or hasn't she broken Republican leadership at all. She said, I'm hoping to witness this. She also
you
said
had to
that
give them choice.
to decide who should be called until we see the
You
evidence.
have to choose to love my Father and I, His Son, and His kingdom.
And then she took her chance to kind of
and service, and surrender to us, and service.
What do you think her comment means?
Listen to my music.
Yeah, I mean, like this is kind of a
And be my
classic Susan
slave
Collins comment
and
in the
make
sense that it's
me
pretty inscrutable. It expresses some concern with what the president did while
and
not
work
actually
for my
making any
Father's
commitment, and
kingdom.
then taking the opportunity, of course,
For
to
His
criticize
glory.
Democrats. I don't know how much we can read into it in terms of what she'll actually do in
My
terms of follow
Father
through.
will give
The
you
reason why
glory
people are
when
so
you
focused
like
on
it,
people like Susan
when
Collins,
you
Mitt Romney,
don't.
Cory Gardner, and others is
My
because
Father
unlike
will
actual
give you
conviction
glory when you
removal,
fall
in order
short,
to
God
ensure
and the devil
procedural
changes
fairness,
my
only
Father's
needs
word.
51 votes in the Senate. So the
What
question
you
is,
did,
will a handful of moderate Republicans
still
join with the
gonna
Democrats in order to ensure
that
that
doesn't
witnesses
stop
are called in the
or
fake
change
nature
the fact
of
that
constituents and say,
what
look,
He said
we called
and who
witnesses
He
who actually did
said
engage in fact finding, even if they ultimately,
is what it was.
not to remove the
It
president.
is what
I
it
think
is.
Susan Collins is a lot less independent in this scenario than she might say.
He who
She's
is
running
who
for
He
the
is,
election. And as much as she is not sort of
and
in
it did turn
Donald
the
Trump's
fact.
corner 100% on every single thing, she is not going to go out of her way
You
to
have to
pull the rug out from
understand
underneath
this.
her,
You did not stop.
alienating
Just because
his
you
base,
say
even after
Jesus
she's
Christ
already
is Christ,
infuriated the left. So there
that
are a lot of
does
people
not mean
back in Maine on the left who might have been voting for Susan Collins after she voted for Brett Kavanaugh. That is over. And I think what she's saying to McConnell here is, give
if
us
you
some
cannot
room.
show
Let
me
me at
no
least look
prophet
like
in
there
the
is some
Bible,
kind of
prophet of God,
independence here. But
that was
I
called
think
by the living
ultimately
God,
she is going to fall in line with the vast majority of Republicans.
and God spoke to that prophet and told him,
That dims the chances of seeing
behold, the
witnesses. So we
branch
should
out
say,
bear son, and
highlight
call
that
his
this is
name
happening as we see the New York
Jesus.
Times report.
Show me
The
that in the
president
Bible.
completely was overriding his top officials in his administration when they said, do not hold this aid for Ukraine.
Show me that Old
Yeah, I don't know how
Testament.
you watch the hearings, read that article, and not conclude that what's fair for the American people is to have witnesses. So the
You gotta
American people
understand,
figure out.
they put their name in
Bolton,
there.
Pompeo, they all need to show up.
But you gotta believe.
Otherwise, I don't know how you're going to do
You
this.
gotta
How the
believe
American
it.
people are going to do this.
You gotta believe.
And film it how history will.
I can only talk about it. I
Yeah, I
can't
think that's
warn you
fair. I
about
mean,
it.
history's going to look at this and say it
I
was
can't
a
hope
partisan
you
event
go
from day
for
one. Susan
I
Collins
couldn't
is going
talk
to be
my
partisan
shit.
on this. She just gave us a
But
nothing burger
you
on
believe
New
true.
Year's Eve. I was hoping
Because
for
they
a
will
nice
not talk my
spread.
shit.
It's going to go partisan
I'm
line.
still
I
teaching
don't
you
think
something.
it's that complicated.
All right, you guys, thank you so much. Have a very wonderful New Year. Wilma, Jim Baker, Susan Hennessy, Abby Phillips. Wonderful
I'm on my shit.
with you all. And just ahead, the Speaker versus the President. We'll be looking
You
at
know what
how
I'm
Nancy
saying?
Pelosi is leading Democrats as the impeachment battle is
I don't
shaping
care
up
what
in the House.
anybody say, bro. I don't care what anybody do.
Whatever
You
happens out
feel
there
me?
today, remember, you have the Hilton app. Will the Hilton app help us pick the
Yeah, people
starters?
gotta
Great
understand, bro.
question. No.
The God is
But
great,
if you
man.
can the Hilton app help us score? Yeah, it's not that kind of thing, but you can score through Wi-Fi. Can it help us win? Hey.
You gotta know that God is good, but God is
All right.
great.
Man, you guys are adorable. All right, let's go look at the soccer game. Come on, look at the Hilton app. You find a
I'm
lower
trying
rate,
to tell you,
25% off that
that
stay.
God is with
That's
you,
better.
bro.
Text Hilton.
I'm not gonna lie to you, man. I'm gonna tell you. The time is up, man. So that's what a lot of these pastors think is about stopping me for as long as I don't make no money. Well, time is up. Well, I'm gonna make the money anyway. I'm gonna take it for a while. You feel me, bro? If I'm going to heaven, then y'all ain't gonna be thinking about me. But y'all not gonna be thinking about me. You know what I roll up to the sky. When the sky roll up and I just feel you can't find me no more. Bro, y'all not gonna be thinking about me.
You can start investing today, wherever you are, even hanging with your dog. So, what are you waiting for? Download now and get your first stock on us. Robinhood.
Y'all not
So
gonna be
this lets
thinking
you
about
share
me.
your TV with your family on multiple devices. Why? True. we know one thing's for sure. It's a little less scary leaving home. You can take a little bit of it with you.
Yeah, I'm not even thinking about it.
Share your TV on 5 devices. No
So they won't
extra
try to
charge.
tell you.
Tuned in to you.
I used to have more hair. I used to have more color. And I used to have cancer. I beat it. I did. Not alone. I used to have no idea what the American Cancer Society did. Research, yeah. But also free rides to chemo, free lodging in your hospitals. I used to maybe give a little.
That's on you to
I got
believe.
so much back.
If you believe God is with you,
I used to have
then why are
cancer.
you denying Emmanuel?
Please give.
They like to say, because Jesus is not the name of
Buying
Savior.
medication online can be
It's
risky.
never the
Medication
name
can
of
be
Christ.
counterfeit,
God name is
potentially
told with
harmful.
no prophet.
That's why
Say,
there's Roman,
behold, the
the
virgin
digital
shall
health
call
clinic
his
for
name,
men.
and call his name,
With
shall
Roman,
bear a son, and
you
call
can
his
talk
name
with a
Jesus.
U.S. licensed physician
God
online,
told the
get it
prophet, and
prescribed,
told the
get
prophet,
authentic
prophet
medication shipped right
Isaiah,
to your door.
what told the prophet Isaiah
Because when
would
it
be,
comes
behold,
to
the
your
prince
health,
shall bear a
it's
son,
not worth the risk.
called his name
Start
Emmanuel.
your free online
The
business
prophet
today at
testified to it in the New
GetRoman.com/TV.
Testament.
Roman, let's
The
take care
birth
of
of
it.
Christ.
Could switching to Geico really save you
The New
15%
Testament is
or
about
more?
the birth of Christ, right?
We'll
Okay,
just check wood.
come on. But some of man, you might have been taught and walked into the millennium and turn to righteousness. And you gotta choose to go to trial and tribulation for it. How bad do you want to see my kingdom? But I might let you see the gates of my kingdom when I come back. Yeah, man, if I let y'all see the gates of my kingdom, just for 3 minutes straight. I'll let y'all see the gates to my kingdom. Just the gates. 5 minutes to 7 straight. When I roll up the sky, why you let y'all see the gates to my kingdom? Nah, roll up the sky, no, bro. You don't deserve to see the gates to my kingdom. You don't deserve to see the gates.
We have been the leader in hair restoration for 4 decades.
Roll up the sky, good enough.
Now is the time to get ready for the new year. We have a very limited number of spots available, so make sure you book yours today.
Stupid. You crazy. Yeah, okay. You crazy. I'm just a messenger. Yeah. Yeah. Guys, tell me to speak.
This is CNN.
So,
Name
I was on top to follow the Spirit of God.
As we head into
So I
2020
found
and
the
a
Spirit
little
of
over
God.
5 hours here on the
And
East
then let me
Coast,
down here.
House Speaker Nancy
Give
Pelosi
it
is
to
keeping
them.
everyone guessing about when she'll send the articles of
You bring
impeachment
King,
to the Senate.
you brought me
We'll
back.
have to wait until the House of
Yeah.
Representatives returns to
But I
Washington
could have
January
joined them.
7th.
Cause they
And even
told
then,
me.
Democrats aren't giving any clues about when they'll hand over these
They told
articles.
me I joined.
CNN chief political correspondent Dana Bash has
I
more
can't
on
join them.
Pelosi
Truth
flexing her muscle as the most powerful
I
woman in
can't say this.
Washington and arguably as
I don't
President
let y'all
Trump's
niggas and y'all
worst
great and y'all good and y'all want to be
These
famous.
days, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi
You see
is a
so
cult-like figure among
crazy.
Democrats for going
Yeah,
head-to-head
oh,
with President Trump.
but y'all should tell
Sunglass
but y'all
hat
for one
coming out of
money.
an Oval Office
Okay,
meeting after
nigga, money.
Democrats won back the
Just
House,
do what
where she
you
said
do.
this. Please
But
don't
I won't
characterize
do that shit no more.
the strength that I bring
I
to
never
this
want to
meeting
do that shit.
as a
Yeah,
leader
but right
of the
now,
House
you gotta tell me
Democrats,
something.
taking an image Trump tweeted
For
as an
time
unhinged
is up.
meltdown,
Like,
making
everybody
it her
looking at
own
me like I'm
social
crazy.
media profile picture.
I'm
A
not
show of
crazy.
strength against a president who doesn't like to be challenged. If you think a woman can't beat Donald Trump, Nancy Pelosi does it every single day.
Well, I'm not crazy.
The skills that got Pelosi where
Well,
she is
I'm
in the
not
first place,
crazy.
a
Like,
leader
I
who
don't
knows how to
understand.
manage her diverse
I'm not
Democratic caucus
crazy.
are being tested.
Uh,
Debbie Dingell is on her leadership team.
Look, I'm throwing off, man. I'm throwing off. Bro, I mean, when I say about the Bible, though, I'm not crazy. Like, bro, this Bible make me psychotic. I love prophecy. Bro, I just love God's word coming past. I love that shit, so I study that shit, and I track that shit. Okay? Like, bro, So I talk my shit because God's not gonna come back. So I talk a lot of shit. Hey, when niggas, if it's a nigga when niggas just be like, damn, nigga talking this. You feel me? Cuz, bro, you know why I talk all this shit, bro? Because, bro, all these people be calling me a liar. You feel me? So, bro, I make the recording. You know, so I make the recording. You feel me? And I track the prophecy. Then I talk my shit. And I curse everybody out. And yeah, I curse everybody out. Nigga, my wife always think like I'm racist. Nigga, oh man, nigga, you racist. Nigga, yeah, I'm talking about racist people. See, you only offended because you're racist. If you weren't racist, you would not be offended. You know, you're talking about racist people. You feel me? You feel me? But you just want to tell me, you feel me? You really want to tell me, hey, nigga, shut the fuck up. Mm. But you can't, because you know, nigga, right, but I don't have. Bro, I'm telling you, bro. Bro, I'm telling you. Y'all, can I say I did not want y'all? I got videos proof. I got tons of videos and everything. Hold on, let me go watch my mango. Yeah. Telling y'all, bro. Y'all can't I didn't tell y'all, no. For real. Y'all might be like I'm talking shit. I'm talking some real shit. Heard about old woman? One time I was calling. Time is now. I'm telling you. I'm telling you now. How is this mango made? Mango got hair. Big hair. Everything. I'm telling y'all. Y'all say y'all was the one now. No one around me. Over here, no one around.
That's right, and Brianna, tonight we have for you a brand new image of the suspect. We got from law enforcement sources, community members who tell us this is the photo just before the attacker came into the rabbi's house. That picture taken from a surveillance camera. This is just before he started slashing at people inside the rabbi's home. Tonight, new details are emerging about one of the stabbing suspects left in his home. In what Thomas lawyers claim that the suspect's handwritten resume bears a line that Thomas as a Marine. CNN confirmed he was a Marine in 2002, but only lasted less than 2 months. The unwritten resume describes him as highly motivated and lists mental discipline, survival skills, and teamwork as attributes. The attorney says Thomas has long suffered from mental illness and is disturbed, not dismayed. The governor's council has been recommended to happen in New York in the last 2 weeks alone. The attorney general now promising after and will be establishing a human rights task force. And we will be again working with officials to come up with some legislative fixes and some solutions to address what we have witnessing throughout the state of New York. Thomas pleaded not guilty to the initial charges. In all, he's now charged with 11 counts, including attempted murder and federal hate crimes. After investigators say they found references to Adolf Hitler, so-called Nazi culture, the Star of David, and a swastika in a handwritten journal found inside Thomas's home. There is also an apparent reference to the Black Hebrew Israelite. Authorities say a person who may have been linked to the same movement was responsible for the killing of 4 people in and around the Jersey City kosher market just a few weeks ago. Meantime, the witnesses, victims, and Orthodox community at large say they are now forced to overcome fear in their daily lives like never before. Rabbi Shmuel Gantz at the Chabad Jewish Center of Suffering visited 2 of the wounded. Both, he says, were slashed in the head in the attack. One was the son
I told
of
these
the
churches, bro, God is about to do some things to them, bro. God's gonna allow a lot of things to happen to them. Especially all the pastors, bro, the smart, the ones that haven't got their hands dirty. Y'all gotta get punished, but a lot of things gonna happen to y'all. I'm trying to tell y'all, bro. Go, yeah, bro. Y'all made people miss 7 weeks, bro.
After they had suffered this terrible attack,
Real
they
shit.
still believe that it was a Hanukkah
I'm trying to
miracle.
tell you, bro. I'm not the one doing it. I'm just telling you what's in stores in the future. You don't see the future, so I'm telling you what's in stores in the future. Shit. Well, alright, how you doing? Right, you don't see the future, so I'm telling you what's in store in the future. I'm into I know the process of God, the signs of God. But that's why I'm recording. I'm recording on my laptop. And I'm turning the volume up so it has volume. But for real, all day, like 24/7, you gonna see so many prophecies next year, bro. I'm trying to see. Next year's your prophecy revelations, bro. So you're gonna see so many prophecies come, and then you're gonna see so many wars 2021. That shit, I'm so crazy, bro. You feel me? But that shit, I'm so fast. For real, man. Like, bro, they don't get it, my man. They don't get it, my man. They don't get it, man. It's judgment. Time. So why people be like, I did this to you, I did it. Bro, you got 2 years, 7 months, and 8 days to do whatever, man. It don't matter if you kill me, whatever. Bro, we about to get judged. It's judgment time. In the time of earth, so whether you rich, whether you poor, you better spend whatever you want. You better enjoy it. Especially our rich niggas. Especially our Illuminati that thought you live forever. Man, her niggas thought to live forever. But that's what I was trying to tell you. That was another side. You feel I come in line with a guy. I got a gas of that life. I got a miss that life. Stop my city, alright. No destination, alright. Gotta do that, that's the life. Gotta do that, that's the life. You feel me? Like, bro, that's what I told you, bro. Like, bro. Bro, y'all didn't say y'all gonna get money for life. Bro, y'all not living for eternity. You think you could trick a man? That shit is sealed up. Bro, you will never be able to turn that marijuana or any marijuana to the tree line.
You can join the battle to save lives by supporting St. Jude Children's Research
It don't matter what you do.
It takes a heart for somebody to say, I'm willing to give percentage so that they can get saved.
Families never receive a bill from St. Jude for treatment, travel, housing, or food, because all a family should worry about is helping their child.
You would never.
It's not fair that two after-all has to worry about am I going to make it.
Cancer doesn't care how old
You would never.
it attacks when you least expect it.
You would never.
Devastatingly scary.
1 in 5 children diagnosed with cancer in the U.S.
You would never be able to stop this. And you false man of God. You think it's about what power you can do right now. Because I'm calling you false. You know I'm a real man of God. You think about all that. No. It's not really about the money. I'm just going to be blessed with money because I came up with a smart ass way to build a ministry and turn into a record label. You feel me? And make my ministry a record label, a business. A profit in business, I profit for myself and my ministry. Okay. And my ministry profits me and self-funds itself. You feel me? And my music, I do my music ministry, and music ministry, entertainment. My entertainment ministry. Like, bro, I'm trying to tell y'all niggas, bro. Y'all niggas don't understand. Bro, you don't understand like judgment, bro. Judgment, bro. I'm trying to tell you. Judgment. Like, niggas telling y'all this, all that, they're lying to you, bro. They're lying to you because of judgment. Bro, I'm to the network right now. I'll be back. Judgment, judgment, judgment.